When it comes to famous movie screen queens, I think a lot of people right away think of Jamie Lee Curtis. And that's cool. I get it. She's definitely right up there still. This lady is the best in my book. And if you give me just a few minutes, I'll tell you why I know. At first, it looked like Adrienne Barbeau was meant for a career in TV comedy. Her role as Maude's daughter, Carol on the classic Norman Lear sitcom, helped make her famous and well known after starring on Broadway as Rizzo in the original version of the musical Grease, and after Maude Barbeau seemed to be all over the TV screen with guest appearances on shows like Alice is Enough and Quincy, and of course she also did the whole Aaron Spelling thing, appearing in a couple of episodes of The Love Boat, as well as multiple episodes of Fantasy Island. I actually remember circling this exact TV listing in my family's copy of TV Guide. I was such a nerd anyway. This video is not about Miss Barbeau's long TV and movie filmography. If it were, I could spend hours talking about her work instead. I'm going to focus on a few specific memories and then give an update on what's happened with her since the late 70s and early 80s. Okay, so where should I start? Let's start here. Oh, look at those happy people getting married. They should be happy. Beautiful actress meets and falls in love with less beautiful but incredibly talented director. It's a match made in entertainment heaven. Yep, when John Carpenter, fresh off his success with the classic horror film Halloween, saw the lovely Miss Adrienne, he knew that he'd found his inspiration, and their first effort together was pure horror movie gold. In the movie The Fog, Barbeau plays Stevie Wayne, a local radio DJ in a town that is celebrating its 100th anniversary. And since this is a horror movie, we all know that things are not going to end well for all of the people of the small coastal town, thanks to a weird, glowing fog that hides angry nautical ghosts. Yup, it's really good stuff. And truthfully, I like this movie a whole lot more than Halloween. But next up was my favorite John Carpenter movie of all time. Not a horror movie. Instead, just a really cool movie with a great anti-hero named Snake Plissken, played at least at that time against type by Kurt Russell in Escape from New York. Barbeau plays Maggie. She and her boyfriend, Frank, play important roles in the film, but things don't go well for either of them. But at least Plissken survives. He would need to, as later on he would have to escape from LA. Not a horror movie, but released around the same time as Escape from New York is another classic movie, The Cannonball Run. My memories might be playing tricks on me, but I swear I saw both Escape from New York and Cannonball, run together at the Redwood Drive-In way back in the summer of 1981. Anyway, Miss Barbeau's role in that movie was a pretty small one, but it was a memorable one for sure. The following year, Adrienne starred in the movie that will forever be one of my favorites, the Wes Craven classic Swamp Thing, based on the DC comic book of the same name. I saw this movie twice at a theater, and then multiple times on video since then. Conversely, hated that poster. Maybe it was because neither Swampy or Miss Barbeau were photorealistic in it. I know it's a weird pet peeve, but for whatever reason, it just bugged me. And in that same year, 1982, Adrienne starred in one of the segments of the George Romero and Stephen King anthology movie Creepshow. Her segment was called The Crate, and I don't want to spoil anything for someone who hasn't seen this movie, but plans to, although, now, you really should have gotten around to it, but I'll just say, stay away from The Crate, Wilma. It was around that time that Carpenter and Barbeau's relationship started to head south. To my knowledge, her final working effort with Carpenter was as a computer voice in his remake of the movie The Thing. After that, I kind of lost track of Adrienne for a little while. I do remember her in Rodney Dangerfield's 1986 comedy. It's classic Back to School. In that movie, she played as Dangerfield's soon-to-be ex-wife. Not a lovable character at all, but hey, it's a Rodney Dangerfield comedy, basically a live-action cartoon with a lovable sad guy who, well, he gets no respect. The next thing that I remember Adrienne was as the voice of Selena Kyle, also known as Catwoman, on Batman the Animated Series, along with The Simpsons. I truly believe that this is one of the greatest cartoons of all time, and perhaps, even to this day, the best TV or movie version of the classic comic book character. So, like I said, the relationship with Carpenter went south, and after divorcing him in 1984, Barbeau focused on her work for years before finding love again with actor and playwright Billy Bates. And they were married on the final day of 1992, and 5 years later, they welcomed twins into this world. The twin boys have an older brother from Barbeau's marriage to Carpenter. At the time of the birth of her twins, Adrienne was over 51, I think in fact, and she joked that she was the only person in the maternity ward who also had an AARP card. For the next few years, Barbeau would make occasional appearances on TV as either a guest star or in a TV movie, but truthfully, she focused on her kids, not just the twins, but all 3 boys. From everything that I've read, they were very much her life's focus. More recently, Barbeau joined the cast of the long-running daytime soap opera General Hospital. I haven't watched this one much since the good old days of Luke and Laura, but I do have a sister-in-law who watches this show even to this day religiously, and from what I can tell, talking to her, it's the returning appearances by stars like Barbeau, as well as former stars of the show itself, that keep her watching. In 2012, Barbeau starred in Ben Affleck's award-winning film Argo as Alan Arkin's character's former wife. Since that time, she's appeared on the FX series Sons of Anarchy, as well as returned to her roots with the Broadway touring company of the acclaimed musical Pippin. So, despite a life that is so much more than a handful of horror and science fiction movies that she made in the early 80s, Barbeau has never shied away from talking about that period in her life. In fact, she celebrates it. She's a frequent attendee at various fan events and is always willing to share her memories of a really great time in her life. In fact, she's taken that celebration to new heights with a staged event of her own called There Are Worse Things That I Could Do, where Adrienne shares stories from her entire career. Truthfully, this thing sounds like an utterly delightful way to spend a couple of hours, and I hope at some point a version of this is either recorded and made available to stream, or what the heck, how about you bring the show to Salt Lake City? Adrienne 2019 also marked a return to the world of Swamp Thing on DC Universe's short-lived TV series. I haven't seen this one yet, but it's disappointing that it only ran for a single season, and wouldn't you know it, Adrienne is also going back to the Creepshow franchise. All in all, Barbeau's career and personal life seem to be clicking along quite nicely, and from everything that I can tell, her success is well-deserved, although I suspect she will have to play a different character than she did in the original Creepshow movie. Like I said, stay away from the crate Wilma. So that's it. One more picture. What a great movie. I love Swamp Thing. The sequel with Heather Locklear wasn't as good, but this one, well, it's a cult classic anyway. Please share your memories in the comments section, and while you're at it, I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I would be absolutely honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff, but most importantly, as always, thank you so much for watching.